Hey everyone, welcome to another vlog, another conglomerate of the things that I get up to during the week. I haven't had time to do a more planned, thoughtful sit-down video, so a vlog it is with snapshots of my life, and I hope that's okay for now. It's been really busy at school, really busy getting started on my master's research and coursework, and this weekend I have a bachelorette, I have a baby shower, I have a classical music concert. Most of my weekends in September and October are jam-packed social events and things, which means that I will not have any spare time to sit down and do more in-depth book chat videos or anything like that. I just don't have the capacity right now to pull that off. One thing I did want to mention right now, last night I attended a webinar with the House of Humane Letters, which is run by Angelina Stanford and Thomas Banks of the Literary Life podcast. It was a webinar on the Vikings, the Viking culture, Viking literature by Dr. Michael Drout. So I popped in on Zoom there and it's about 2 hours of just chatting about the Vikings, talking about the Vikings. It was super interesting. Can't say that there was too much that I wasn't already pretty familiar with there, but he did have a really good explanation of sort of how we distinguish between, the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda and the sagas and Scandinavian or Old Norse poetry versus prose and those kind of things. He mapped out the literature really well, which was very helpful, and he gave some book recommendations, one of which I promptly ordered. This is A History of the Vikings, Children of Ash and Elm by Neil Price. Dr. Drout was raving about this, and I saw this book in England in several bookstores and was so close to buying it and bringing it home with me. It's a really big chunky one, which is probably why I decided against that, but I'm really happy to have my hands on it now and really looking forward to reading this. Here's the back description. The Viking Age saw an unprecedented expansion of the Scandinavian peoples into the world. As traders and raiders, explorers and colonists, they ranged from eastern North America to the Asian steppe. But for centuries, the Vikings have been seen through the eyes of others, distorted to suit the tastes of medieval writers, Victorian imperialists, Nazis, and more. Based on the latest archaeological and textual evidence, Children of Ash and Elm tells the story of the Vikings on their own terms. Their politics, their cosmology and religion, their material world. Known today for a stereotype of maritime violence, the Vikings exported new ideas, technologies, and beliefs to the lands and peoples they encountered. From Eric Bloodaxe, who fought his way to a kingdom, to Gudrid Thorbjarnadottir, the most traveled woman in the world, Children of Ash and Elm is a remarkable history of the Vikings and their time. And this looks like it's going to be exactly that. What was interesting is I was reading the Prose Edda last night by Snorri Sturluson, and I came to this section where they were talking about the first man and the first woman who were created, and that's where they get Ash and Elm from. I believe the man, let me double check. Yeah, the man was called Ask, ash tree, and the woman Embla, elm or vine. From them came mankind, and they were given a home behind Midgard's wall. So that was really cool. As soon as I saw that, Ash and Elm, I thought of this book. So looking forward to doing a deep dive into the Vikings. It's probably going to take me a while to really get into this book, find the time to read it, but I'm excited.
Yay. Wow. Guys, this is Carolyn. You're so cute. Gorgeous.
I've been making some headway in my secondary research for my master's, so that's been really good. I've actually really been enjoying reading, books like the Cambridge Companion to Victorian literature and those types of secondary sources, which just give a very broad overview of a period and all the movements and historical realities within that period. That's actually been very grounding, so I'm enjoying doing that. A very hot day, despite it being the end of December. It's been making me really grumpy. I've been feeling kind of off today, but I think I'm going to still just try to get as much research done this afternoon as I can. We'll see how it goes. I just wanted to mention something cool that we've been doing at school in Bible and theology class, which is a manuscript reading of the Bible. So essentially what we've been doing is we've been copying out a book of the Bible by hand in cursive in our very best writing, slowly in a relaxed scole environment, lights off, natural light pouring in, Gregorian chants in the background. It's been really, really great. With my class, I've been working through the book of James, and as I said, we've been copying it out slowly in our best handwriting, but also leaving a margin and writing notes and questions and drawing connections and annotating it in the margins as well, and then we discuss it. We read and discuss together once we've all finished copying out a chapter. It's been really, really great, and I want to incorporate this practice of hand copying out literature, whether that's the Bible, whether that's a poem. When you do that and you go slow, you end up really focusing and paying attention to the words, to the sentences, to the structure of the sentences, and to the meaning underneath it. So it's just a really great practice to have in general if you're a reader. And so I have my beautiful leather-bound book here that I originally used for my notes on the Silmarillion, but it still has a lot of empty pages. And I think maybe as sort of part of my devotion routine, I'm going to start copying out passages of scripture by hand in my neatest handwriting into this book, copy out poems and other pieces of literature that I really love. And yeah, again, it's just such a peaceful, relaxing thing to do. But it's also a very meaningful use of time and a very good way to interact with a text and to understand a text. So just wanted to share that with you guys in case you're interested in doing something similar. I've been trying to do more of my creative writing in a physical notebook, handwriting with pen, and it's been really therapeutic for me. I have like 45,000 words written on Google Docs, so it's a little bit hard to just jump from that into this, but I find a lot of my writing, even in a novel, ends up being very reflective. So to have this on hand, to just sort of jot down things that are in my heart, often that ends up turning into dialogue or gets embodied by a character in my novel, if that makes sense. So this has been really fun. One of the things that I've really learned as a teacher is that it's not enough to know your content, right? It's not enough for me to know history really well, to understand my lecture notes completely, to be able to pop off and talk about history for hours and be accurate and insightful. But it actually matters how you communicate. Like, it's an entirely different skill to teach what you know. You can know a lot and not be able to teach it. So your rhetoric as a teacher really, really matters. And this actually doesn't really come naturally to me. I can express myself much better when I'm writing things down, in silence, just with my own self in my own head, and I'm writing down whatever it is that I am trying to express. That often turns out very eloquent, very clear. The best possible expression that I could give to my thoughts comes out in writing. And so, as somebody who sort of struggles to speak articulately, and you've probably seen that many times here on YouTube where I'm trying to get a point across and I just can't do it, or I don't do it very well. So as someone who struggles with that, and also as someone who's introverted, I think the biggest challenge in my job is to just express myself whimsically, to use good rhetoric, to speak clearly, to communicate clearly, to translate what's in my head to the people in front of me. It's really, really hard. One of the things that my school does is they invite parents in one night per school year to experience what it's like to be a student at our school, to get a classical education. Basically, none of the parents at our school, basically no one my age that I know, has had a classical education. That's how new the movement is here in Canada. The kids today are sort of the first to get this type of education. And so parents, in some ways, don't even know what goes on in the classrooms, what exactly it looks like. They have an idea, of course. They need to buy into the classical philosophy and the thinking behind classical education. They need to do their research. They need to fully buy into it to even be part of our school. But yet, they don't know what it's like to actually have that education yourself from kindergarten to grade 12. And so, we give them a chance to come into our school and experience what their kids are experiencing and learn how their kids are learning. And I have to give a grade 11 level history lecture and do a literature reading and discussion with parents. And I am very nervous because I find it difficult enough, challenging enough, anxiety-inducing enough to speak in front of high school students who are in some ways more intelligent and articulate than I am because they've had a much better education than I ever had. K to 12. Some of my students are absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it takes a lot of guts for me even to be their teacher and to speak confidently. Yeah, when you know there's people in your audience that can see through you if you are being inaccurate or are making mistakes or don't know what you're talking about, that adds a whole new level of challenge to it. And so the idea of speaking to parents is pretty nerve-wracking to adults. Anyways, that's tomorrow night. I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm really hoping that it goes well, and that I have a small but sort of good and in-tune group of parents, and that we can just have a great time. And I'll see if they're smarter than the high school students, if they're smarter than their own kids. I almost think that they won't be. I mean, that depends how you define smart, obviously. I mean, as well read in the classics, perhaps, or if we're talking about how comprehensive is their historical education, their kids might be ahead of them. Most likely they are ahead of them unless they've studied history and literature at a higher level and for a prolonged period of time. I mean, that's just a testament to how great of an education these kiddos are getting, and it's not because I am the perfect teacher, as I've just said. Although I do my best and I do receive encouraging feedback that I'm doing a good job, but I can always be better. I can always improve, and I love to think about how improved I could be 20 years from now after doing it for years and years and having years and years of more reading and studying myself. How much more effective of a teacher will I be then? It's a very exciting thought. Anyways, I hope I didn't sound like I was being too self-derogatory, too derogatory to myself, or giving the impression that I shouldn't be doing the job that I am doing, because I do feel like this is exactly where I need to be and that I am an effective teacher, but I'm just communicating that that's not necessarily a natural thing. That takes a lot of work and effort, and there's always room for improvement. That's why we as classical teachers are always doing PD, professional development. We're always taking courses, we're always reading, studying, watching other teachers, learning from other teachers, and just learning how to become better at communicating truth to our students. And for me, that means communicating great ideas of literature to my student, history, story of the world, and these things. And I love it. I love my job so much and I'm beyond honored and privileged to do what I do. But it's not easy. And there are moments like this where I feel a lot of anxiety about having a place of authority like this, where I'm the one at the front of the classroom leading a group of adults as we read through Augustine on Plato. So I just started reading The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, and this is the first book that I've ever read by Wilkie Collins, and so far I'm enjoying it. I've just met the White Lady and found out where she's come from, and hopefully I didn't just give too big of a spoiler by showing you my page, but I'm gonna do a bit of reading, waiting for Zach to come home from disc golfing, and then we need to grab groceries together. But for now, I'm going to enjoy this. Alright, I think I'm going to end this video here. Just a reminder that if you appreciate my channel and what I do and you want to support me, you can find ways to do that in the description box below. You can leave a super thanks on this video, you can buy me a coffee, you can buy my novel on Amazon, you can send me a book. Any of these things would be much appreciated. You can also use my affiliate links through Amazon. Only if you want to, of course. Absolutely no pressure. Thank you so much for watching this video and for being here, and hope to see you again very soon in the next one.